everybody wants to talk the Florida State game and whether Florida State's going to take over the ACC and all of that. So they get together in Death Valley on September 23rd, and Clemson a 2.5-point favorite at this point.
Yeah, that's the big one. Depending on who you talk to, this is Florida State's year to dethrone Clemson in the ACC. Fortunately for the Tigers, they get the Seminoles at home, where Clemson has been hard to beat in recent years. 2.5 feels about right to me in this case. Florida State's coaching staff has done a remarkable job at building that team through the portal, addressing some of their immediate needs. One of the more experienced quarterbacks in the league, and Jordan Travis coming back. I think that is going to be a good Florida State team, and I expect that to be a battle. Whether it's good for Clemson that it's early in the season, I don't know. You're running you're installing a new offense. There might be some early hiccups, but with the ACC doing away with divisions this year, you potentially had the possibility of seeing this matchup twice.
Absolutely. That will be fun if that ends up happening, as most people predict. And again, this is the classic example of a toss-up, because they give typically 3 points for a home game. So Clemson at -2.5 against Florida State, September 23rd. October 21st, Clemson goes to Miami. Of course, they took on the Canes last year, and Miami couldn't get a first down to save their lives. Clemson's an 11-point favorite at Hard Rock right now.
Yeah, that's another one that feels about right. I thought going into last season, Miami was a dark horse contender. Maybe to win the Coastal possibly, or maybe even win the ACC. I like that they had Van Dyke coming back, but nothing seemed to go right for those guys. And I am now in the category of I'm going to have to see it to believe it. I have no faith in Miami. I'm not a big believer in Mario Cristobal. He's a great recruiter, but some of his on-field decisions leaves you scratching your head sometimes. So that's another one that feels about right to me. Double-digit favorite for Clemson. I think Miami's got some questions. They are recruiting well, make no mistake. But as far as this season, man, I think they've got some questions on both sides of the ball.
This next game may be losing a little bit of luster just because it's a non-division game now. And we always, a lot of people waiting for NC State to make a breakthrough, and they just never do. Good football program under Dave Doran. The two get together in Raleigh, and Clemson's a 10.5-point pick, according to DraftKings, on October 28th.
Yeah, let's remember the last time Clemson went to Raleigh, they came home with a loss. The Wolfpack knocked off the Tigers, and had been the first time in a long time they beat Clemson. And they came to Clemson last year. That was supposed to be the game to decide the Atlantic. According to a lot of people, North Carolina State was supposed to be really good last year, one of Dave Doran's best teams, and Clemson just thumped them. It wasn't even close, wasn't even competitive. But some of these games up in Raleigh have been close, even though Clemson's been on the winning side of some of them. There have been a handful of them that have been close. But the 10.5 seems a little bit high, just because of the fact that it's on the road, and that's not a easy place to play. Sometimes there's been some high tension between these two teams in the past. I'm not sure Dave Doran and Dabo Sweeney are the best of pals, so to speak. 10.5 seems a little high. I would definitely lean towards Clemson. 10.5 seems a little bit high to me. I'd probably have it closer to a touchdown.
Clemson, of course, went to South Bend, and that wasn't too pretty last season. A night game on NBC, and, of course, a 3-touchdown loss in South Bend. And I guess the thing that makes it doubly hard this time is they run into Sam Hartman in a Notre Dame uniform. And, of course, Sam Hartman had his way the last time, whatever he threw, 6 touchdown passes against the Clemson secondary. So Notre Dame and Sam Hartman on November 4th at Clemson, 4-point favorite for the Tigers.
Yeah, I guess that's just Clemson being at home if you go by what we saw last year, even though that was an uncharacteristic performance for Clemson's defense. Notre Dame just punched them right in the mouth, and Clemson didn't have much of a response. The offense didn't do anything until late in that game. Again, Notre Dame's coming to Clemson. Like we talked about a minute ago, it's not an easy place for opponents to win. And this is a game Clemson should be highly motivated for after what happened last year. So I expect a slugfest when the time comes for these two teams to match up.
Nobody's going to take North Carolina too seriously on a national scale until they start to tackle some people and cover people on defense. But it's a fun team to watch. And of course, Drake May is one of the best in the business, coming off a 45 touchdown season. And but Clemson just whacked them in the ACC championship game. So it's Carolina in Death Valley on November 18th, and Clemson's a 10.5-point pick.
Yeah, Clemson gets them late in the season again. We all saw how high-powered that offense of North Carolina's was last season. I know they've lost a couple pieces. Still got Drake May. Thought they ran out of gas down the stretch. But that defense has been the problem in Chapel Hill. And I'm not sure that it's going to be much better next year. I could see Clemson blowing the Tar Heels' doors off when the time comes.
Clemson's made it a habit of blowing the doors off of South Carolina until last year, and they got shocked in Death Valley 31-30. And South Carolina's got a little bit of mojo going right now. They feel good about themselves and their program and where it's headed, and the two get together on November 25th in Death Valley, and Clemson's a 6.5-point favorite right now.
Yeah, we talked about payback with Notre Dame. This one would definitely qualify for a little bit of payback too, because as you said, South Carolina came in there and shocked Clemson last year, ended their long home winning streak that had been ongoing for a few years, and came back from a early double-digit deficit to do it. It was kind of almost surreal sitting there watching it unfold. Spencer Rattler kind of had his way with Clemson's defense there. Over the second half of that game, Clemson couldn't complete a forward pass. Again, a new offense, new quarterback. I would expect things to play out a little bit differently this year. I'm talking about a game that this team's going to be highly motivated for. This will be it. As much momentum as South Carolina has on the recruiting trail right now, they've added some key pieces through the portal, and they've got Rattler coming back. I still think Clemson's the more talented team at this point. And more often than not, the more talented team usually ends up winning, especially in an emotionally charged game. And I absolutely think this will be one of those.